Okay, so right now these cards are going to come out. This card, I plan on putting it here as a third card. I'm going to have the Zotac I have downstairs and the Asus Tough will be here. Reason for changing out this card is it'll be a little bit longer, about the same height, and the Zotac's a little bit longer, so it'll have a little bit more where it can catch air around this existing card that'll be here, the Zotac. Zotac is a little bit shorter than this one, so it will be able to catch a little bit more air above it. The other thing you can notice is right now this particular case had the ability to mount fans right here, but if I want to add another card, there's a PCI slot right there that I wouldn't be able to get to with the fans mounted here. So I actually mounted the fans inside the PSU shroud. This is a LandCool 2 mesh case. So I mounted the fans underneath by screwing underneath a little stubby screwdriver. The screw ends kind of stick up a little bit, but as long as I don't interfere with anything, it's fine. And it's been working great. So like I said, what I'm going to change out is this will be going here. I'll be putting in a Zotac here, an Asus Tough here, all 3060s. And then in order to mount this here, I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to mount that this particular card here. Obviously it'll be on a riser with a riser card going into the PCI slot. Probably will have to slide down the AAO cooler. Really glad I did the AAO cooler at this point, because I wouldn't feel as confident about it of putting a card here if I was blowing hot air into the CPU cooler. But with this being blown all out, I'm not really going to be affecting the cooling ability of the CPU. So I'm going to basically put in the Zotac and the Asus Tough here, and then you'll rejoin when I'm in the process of trying to put the EVGA here. So again, trying to figure that out. So in 3, 2, 1. Okay, that was a little bit more involved than I expected it to be. So did a number of different things to make this work. One of the things we had to do was we had to turn around the AAO cooler. So we had to switch around those fans, flop the whole thing back around, because those tubes were actually touching the GPU that's hanging up. That's the third GPU. We had to hang it that way because of where the power cable was. Well, not even so much where the power cable was, that was part of it, but mainly because we wanted the fans to be on that side, so that it would be catching the cool air and help cool the GPU. And there's no way to hang it from the bottom of the GPU. You had to hang it from the front of the GPU, the one with the connectors on it. That was the only place we could connect it. So we basically zip tied it to the top, made sure it was hanging as vertical as we could, made sure we kept all the cables out of the way. It's kind of hard to tell from that angle, but you can see all the cables aren't touching. We actually had to take out this from the back. That is basically goes right there inside the case. It was basically is your cable cover. So you can see right there, there's a hole basically in the back of the case where that cable cover would normally be covering. But with where it was, there was a strut basically coming out exactly where the power cable for the GPU needed to be. So it was basically it was pushing on the cable where it shouldn't be pushing. So we got that all routed up. Again, doesn't look as pretty as I'd like with the bottom of the riser facing the front, but it is what it is. It's all about performance, not about looks. And then down here we have the Asus Tough, and then the Zotac 3060 Ti in the bottom. As you can tell, the Zotac is nice and short, so that air can get around that. It basically will push air into the Zotac, but will also go up and around and be caught by the Tough. And then, as I mentioned before, the Tough is actually longer, so that third fan is going to catch air real nicely as well. So obviously the thermals will tell the real truth as to whether or not this is going to work. But we will see you once I have it plugged in and have things running where we can take a look at thermals. Okay, there it is in all its glory. So it came up no problem. Took a little bit of time to basically find each GPU. So it took a little bit of time to restart, but it found everything and came up and started up all the miners and everything worked perfectly. But the real question wasn't necessarily whether or not it was going to work. It was whether or not what the thermals were going to be. So let's take a look. I was actually pleasantly surprised. So what I did when I was doing this test, I actually was mining on the CPU at the same time as I was mining on each one of the cards. I wasn't mining using NiceHash, but you can see here it's at 100% load. I was actually mining to Ethermine with T-Rex Miner Direct. So the temps for each of them, the Zotac is the one that was on the bottom, and that one was at 41 degrees, which would make sense. That's the one that has direct air blowing right on the card with two fans that are about, 1.5 to 2 inches away. So that would make sense. The other one, 42 degrees for the EVGA, that's the one that is now hanging vertically. And again, having that one have low temperatures is not a huge surprise because the front fans, the front case fans are blowing directly on it. And then the last one, which is the one I was would have been a little bit concerned about, it's only at 44. I haven't really played around too much with the fan speeds. The Zotac being at 41, I could probably lower that a bit. Same thing with the EVGA. And then the Tough card, that's obviously probably going to need to have the highest fan speeds just because of where it is in the case, having the Zotac directly below it. But I'm pleased with that. 41, 42, and 44 degrees. So with the CPU, which could have been affected by this, because it's going to be a little toastier in the case, I'm sure, was looking to see with the AIO what the temperatures were going to be, and it was running at 49 when I was mining, with a max at one point of 51. So yeah, this is working great. Show you a few pics of the case. This is the first one I had shown. So you can see here, as I mentioned before, rerouted the AIO to go the other direction. Not ideal, as those tubes are blocking the fan a little bit, but it was the best option in this particular case. No pun intended. Anyway, and then you see the three fans blowing directly onto the card. One of the nice things about it, especially with this EVGA card, that's really what enabled it because it's so short. So it does not block airflow from the front fans onto the Tough card. So that's one of the reasons why this is able to stay relatively cool, because it's got air blowing directly on it from this direction. It's got air from here blowing up, and then air blowing that it can catch a little bit across the front of the card as well. Maybe one more shot from a little bit different direction. So you can see the fans, you can see that that's the EVGA card. So anyway, so yeah, definitely pleased. Able to get another, I hate to see an unused PCI slot. Want to use them all up. So now this is my last PCI slot that I have now. So at this point, it's either replace or expand. So right now, I'm probably going to be doing the replace route if I can find any more cards, which, yeah, good luck with that. So at any rate, well, thanks for tuning in, and have a great day.